sometimes there's a political story that is so big, a moment so significant that it has the potential to reshape the dynamics of a nation, to reshape the politics of a nation. And last week Sunday was one such moment. Last week Sunday was Fiasco Sunday, as the General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi made explosive allegations about the events and the decisions around the disbanding of the Political Killings Unit and of the relationships that senior police officials have with criminal underworld kingpins and people within the criminal underworld, one of which who is Vusimuzi Matlala, who's currently on trial for murder. And he also made scathing and chilling allegations around the relationship that the police minister himself has with particular individuals who have been implicated or are associated with the criminal underworld in South Africa. He made allegations that when he got close to capturing, apprehending, disrupting the operations of syndicates which are operating regionally in the SADC region and also provincially, across provinces, interprovincially, if you will. And he said when he got close to that, that's when he apparently touched those who are powerful and cannot be touched. And that's what precipitated him going to the public with those explosive revelations. So that was last Sunday, Fiasco Sunday. It was Mkhwanazi's turn. This Sunday, all eyes will be on President Ramaphosa to see how he responds to the events that have unfolded. It'll be all eyes on me, like the Tupac song says. Apparently, as things are standing right now, the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, is asking for special leave, a type of leave, I guess, which is similar to the stepping aside which Zweli Mkhize did to go and clear his name. So that's what is being reported. We'll talk more about that later. But everyone is wondering, what type of a Sunday dinner will President Cyril Ramaphosa serve South Africa today? Make no mistake about it, this will be one of the defining moments of the Ramaphosa presidency, and it will be part of defining his legacy. How he responds or fails to respond will inform how historians will write about him, how the public will respond to him, and possibly how the public will vote in the upcoming elections, both local and national. It's a tight time for him, in fact, because he's in the middle of trying to push for the national dialogue. And boom, General Mkhwanazi started a national dialogue for free. No 700 million rands required for this particular national dialogue for President Ramaphosa, because Mkhwanazi served it hot. Fiasco Sunday, hot, 7 colors. Put it on a plate, and for 7 days, South Africa has been grappling and trying to, unravel the strands of the explosive revelations that came from General Mkhwanazi. He started that national dialogue. So now the question is, Mkhwanazi served us lunch. What kind of dinner will President Ramaphosa serve? Will it be Cataclysmic Sunday today? Cathartic Sunday? Or will it be a confounding Sunday? Will it be a wet blanket Sunday? We'll see. We'll see. And I'll be here reacting to it. So look out for an episode just after President Ramaphosa makes his announcement. So in the last few days, we've seen all manner of attempts to manage the issue. Initially, we saw crisis communications with people like Paul O'Sullivan going on various platforms to malign and besmirch the reputation of General Mkhwanazi. It was an ad hominem attack. And an ad hominem is a type of fallacy where you attack the integrity of the person who is speaking on a particular point instead of dealing with what they have said and disproving what they have said. The crisis communications shifted slightly because initially what we saw, Fikile Mbalula and others, they were on the attack about procedure and protocol, about the wardrobe, the choice of clothing. But on evaluation of public sentiment, it seems as if the ANC shifted somewhat. And I don't know if you picked it up. The ANC Secretary General shifted and started speaking more about we need to look at the allegations that Mkhwanazi has raised, praising General Mkhwanazi as well. The biggest shift, I think, came on Wednesday when we saw the Minister of Police change the story. Initially, he had said that he doesn't know Brown Mokgotsi, and he said this on the 5th of March in Parliament. Then he changed the story and it was like, no, actually, I know Brown Mokgotsi, but he's a comrade, he's not an associate. He says he's just a friend. He says he's just a friend, but not an associate. Nobody knows what that actually means. And it would have been important, actually, for the minister to go to media and speak. And I think it's something that I want to just pause on a little bit. I watch Sky News, I watch Fox News, I watch CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. And Sky News I watch the most because I think they hold a lot of people accountable, the UK one. The Australia one sometimes gets a little bit too right-wing. But when you are facing these types of allegations, and I remember Boris Johnson was facing certain allegations around throwing a birthday party at his house during the pandemic, and ministers had to go onto national TV to explain. They had to go to Sky News. They had to go to BBC. I saw Beth Rigby. I saw Sophie Ridge. I saw Trevor, what's his name? I've forgotten Trevor's name right now. But I saw them speaking to these politicians and asking them about the merits of the arguments, the details of the allegations, their responses to the allegations, and even if this matter was taken, and it was taken to an investigation by a lady who ended up working for the current minister, and then there was a whole scandal with her because it seemed as if while she was investigating Boris, she was doing, this kind of a Boris harsh investigation to try to help the current prime minister. But that's a side story. The point I want to make around the viewership of Sky News and seeing ministers actually show up on the platforms is that I actually thought that this week was a necessary week for Senzo Mchunu to go and actually respond to his allegations and bring the nation into his confidence. I think the whole statement in the middle of the week just saying, I know this guy, etc., I don't think that was sufficient. And I don't think the media pushed hard enough to get that interview. And there's another thing I want to raise about the press conference later today, or the media briefing, or I don't know what it's going to be, but it's a consistent issue. Donald Trump takes questions from the media. Keir Starmer takes questions from the media. Even Putin takes questions from journalists. So I don't understand why it's acceptable or good journalism for President Ramaphosa often to do events and then walk away without responding to questions and even follow-up questions. And then that's left for the Secretary General and the ANC to do. But those are not the people occupying office. Those are not the people running the country. And it creates an unnecessary buffer, I think. And I think one that is not something that is good journalism or in line with principles of good journalism. I don't know what you think. I don't know how it's going to play out today, but I think it's genuinely something that has always concerned me, that while the Secretary General of the ANC is very willing to attack the media and go at the media, at the same time we see situations where, the president is not answering questions. And this particular issue pertains allegations that are so serious that I hope that he does answer questions. I hope that he does actually have a full press. If Trump can do it, why can't it be done in South Africa, right? Many people say that they are more democratic than Donald Trump, and I'm using him as an example in this context. If a person who people say is taking away democratic liberties is willing to do a press conference, why not somebody who is in a progressive constitutional democracy where they're trying to promote accountability, transparency, good governance, openness, all of that stuff? Why not allow the media to ask tough questions? And why not also allow even opposing and dissenting media to ask those questions as well? Trump will take questions from anybody. He'll say, no, you are a fake journalist, etc., but he'll take the questions. So back to what we saw during the week. On Wednesday, we saw the minister change the story. We also saw an announcement from the Speaker of the National Assembly, Togo Tudiza, that she's going to put this task in front of the portfolio committees for police, for justice, for also to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence to consider. And one of those, I think, was going to make it a very opaque and secretive process. And I think that's what made people not respond well, because they felt that, look, Kwanazi came to Parliament. He made these issues, prominent in the Committee on Police already. He spoke about these things, and now Parliament is now trying to come into the process in a way that seems like they're going to close off all of the stuff, make it confidential so that the public is not actually brought into confidence and cannot see what is happening, and therefore cannot make an ascertainment on whether or not the job was well done. Because remember, in a democracy, those who govern do so with the consent of the governed, which is why you have to watch Parliament and all of that to make an understanding of whether or not those people who you've given consent to exercise your power and represent your interests are doing so appropriately. And if they're not doing so appropriately, do you then have the mandate to remove them from that particular position through the vote. So making everything confidential, taking it away, actually is a derogation of democracy. It's a deterioration of the accountability mechanisms that the public is supposed to have. It's an obscuring of the accountability mechanisms which the public is supposed to see clearly so that they can make decisions about whether or not a good job is being done. So that was part, I think, of the response to the explosive bombshells dropped by General Mkhwanazi on Sunday. So in relation to what happened in the parliamentary side, the speaker refused to have a debate because two political parties had actually said, let's have a public debate about this thing. And then the speaker said, no, the allegations remain unsubstantiated, so we're not going to have a debate. I'm not sure I'm sold about why there wasn't a debate. I think there should have been a debate so that everything can be put on record so that the public can see what members of parliament are thinking about this issue and see what kind of interventions they're considering as well. So I think that the refusal of the debate was part of managing the public consent and manufacturing consent in one particular direction. All in all, the attacks on General Mkhwanazi did not land because on the question of protocol, for instance, he actually did make those submissions in Parliament on the 5th of March. He raised those issues in the media before, and the media didn't give them due attention. He even read messages live from this fellow known as Brown Mkhotsi on Eyewitness News. And to be honest, they didn't promote and push that story as a lead story up until this particular week, where they were like, oh, guess what? We do have footage of this guy talking about Brown Mkhotsi showing us. He was showing them the text messages on screen. You know, when someone is saying, read this with me, he's trying to show you that I've got nothing to hide. He came across as credible. He came across as having a demeanor which was interested in the interests of justice and not self-serving. I think the public trusts him on this issue. He did follow protocol as far as it could take him. And it seems as if going to the public was a last resort. And we also saw the police commissioner saying, no, he had my go-ahead as well. So these attacks didn't land. You know, also, General Mkhwanazi came with files and evidence which could be corroborated in part by the public and which has also been reported on by some media houses about individuals such as Vusi Matlala. He proved to the public that he has a case. While those who attacked him and demeaned him did not do the same level of due diligence to prove the basis of their smears, they basically sounded like they were making assertions that they were the ones who were throwing stones at a moving bus, basically, as opposed to being people with valid and critical criticisms of General Mkhwanazi. And I think that still holds up until this particular point. The attack on his clothing on the day also didn't land because there was precedent for police officers wearing the special unit uniform. And not only that, he actually was the leader of that special unit, won accolades while leading that unit and did well in that unit. And everybody is saying that he's a good policeman. So it didn't work. The attacks on him didn't work. And now, today, before the president makes his announcements, we're seeing Sunday Times reporting that Senzo Mchunu has asked Cyril Ramaphosa to put him on leave. Sunday Times is reporting that the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, has asked President Ramaphosa to grant him special leave. That could be an indicator already of where things are going, right? Because if he goes on that special leave, does that then mean that the president then can say this guy's asking for special leave to clear his name? Then he reshuffles the cabinet. Interestingly, Sunday Times is also reporting that his spokesperson is somebody that received significant pay increases and significant promotions. I don't know where they're going with that. There's an innuendo there. It's a hush curry innuendo, but they haven't gone much further. She denies that she's related to Brown Mkhotsi, the Kamohelo Mkhotsi. She says, I'm not related to this dude, but it's just a denial. She doesn't prove that she's not related to him, and I think it requires the media to actually investigate if indeed there is a relation between Brown Mkhotsi and Kamohelo, the spokesperson of the police minister right now, who has been his spokesperson even as he moved departments. And oddly, I didn't actually hear her this week. You know, when you have a spokesperson, they're supposed to be quite responsive in a week like this. And if they're a professional communicator, somebody who's been put there on the basis of merit, this would have been the week to hear from her. But we didn't hear from her. She just says, look, I'm not related to Brown Mkhotsi. I don't know Brown Mkhotsi. The whole Brown Mkhotsi angle has been weird the whole time. So, SABC got a hold of him eventually. The full interview, I don't know where it is. I just saw a clip. And in that interview, he was saying, yeah, I have access to this information. I'll explain on a right platform. But I was like, this is all coming off as shady, man. It's all coming off as shady. But salute to SABC for at least getting him. I would have loved to see Brown Mokhotsi do an interview with Sakina Kamwendo. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see him do an interview with Clement Manyatela. Somebody who could nyatela him on the facts and get to the bottom of all of these allegations and even the allegations that he's facing, because he's out on bail from what I saw on murder or something to that effect, on murder charges. So even him, he has a lot of explaining to do. But Sunday Times, that's what they've been reporting in respect to Senzo Mchunu. Then there's also reporting in the Sunday Times that the Minister of Higher Bubblegum, the Minister of Ask Google and Check the Encyclopedia. What am I saying? The Minister of Higher Education has been told to sit tight and not take any international flights. Apparently, on Friday, President Cyril Ramaphosa ordered the Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane to cancel a trip to China when she was already in the departure lounge at the O.R. Tambo International Airport. She was already eating the hors d'oeuvres and preparing and practicing her Chinese greetings and all of that. And then, boom, email, boom, boom, came in saying, whoa, not so fast, not so fast, not so fast. Stay local. Stay local. So there's a high-level delegation which is accompanying Deputy President Paul Mashatile to China. This is a delegation which includes the following ministers. Park Stau, who is the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. Stella Nkabane, who is the Minister of Small Business Development. Patricia de Lille, who's the Minister of Tourism. Phemima Jordina, who's the Minister of Water and Sanitation. Mzamo Buthelezi, who's the Public Service and Administration Minister. And the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, who's also the Minister of Agriculture. So it's a high-level group of ministers. You know, they're going to China, probably benchmarking. I don't know what they're going to do. But apparently, on Friday at the airport, President Ramaphosa told Nkabane not to go anywhere until after his speech. And that's what has been reported in Sunday Times. And it's reported that Nkabane had already checked in. Imagine you've checked in when she received the instructions from the presidency. They say in a letter. I don't know if it was a manual letter. I'm just assuming that it was an email. And the letter, according to several government insiders who spoke to Sunday Times, gave no details beyond the instruction to Nkabane to remain in South Africa. That's what the email say. And she's reported to have been shocked because the president, who himself has been shocked on many occasions, approved her participation in the China trip. So President Ramaphosa shocked her. He transferred his usual shock onto her. He was like shock mambazo to her. And now she's the holder of the shock, right? The letter, according to several government insiders, gave no details. She was just told, stay. And that is giving an indication that President Ramaphosa may shuffle the cabinet slightly and remove Senzo Mchunu and also remove Nobuhle Nkabane. And perhaps what they're saying is that he'll put somebody like Jeff Radebe in one of the ministerial positions, and he'll put Nomsa in another ministerial position so that he can maintain the KwaZulu-Natal support base. So that's what they're saying. So based on the reporting and based on some of the conversations that have been happening this week, these are some of the options for President Ramaphosa. Number one, that according to what has been said and according to what they're saying, his inner circle has advised him, is that he must institute a judicial commission of inquiry. And what they're saying is that this judicial commission of inquiry must actually have a short turnaround time of no more than 6 weeks. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what they're saying. So the turnaround issue is going to be important because people don't want a commission of inquiry because they saw the Zondo commission of inquiry. Took 3 years, 1 billion rands, nothing has happened. Those thick papers that were presented in front of South Africa, nothing has happened with those files. They're just sitting there. Everyone watched the videos, lots of reporting, and some of the serious allegations that were made, they were ignored, right? Because, for instance, I think who was actually raising issues about Brown Mkhotsi and raising issues about some of these people, was it Sibia as well, in the Zondo Commission, and those allegations were ignored. They were ignored. So people are like, we don't know, man. This doesn't seem like it's going to work. We want this crime issue to be dealt with quite urgently and quite significantly. So option one, commission of inquiry. Option two is the cabinet reshuffle, in which Mchunu is removed and also Nobuhle Nkabane is removed, and that perhaps will give the public some satisfaction. I'll be back later today to do a full episode reviewing the announcement. So we'll see what goes down and we'll see what happens. I'm curious, what do you think President Ramaphosa will do? People are skeptical. They're skeptical that he has been moving slow, that he's not committed to taking actions. What do you think he'll do? Do you think he'll fire Mchunu? Do you think he'll do a cabinet reshuffle? Do you think he'll suspend both General Sibiya and General Mkhwanazi? Do you think he'll do a commission of inquiry? Do you think he'll do all of the above? None of the above? What do you think he's going to do? Let's have a conversation. But don't forget, as soon as he's done, come through. I'll try to upload as fast as I can. Sometimes there's a delay because internet speeds and all of that. But rest assured, I'm going to be on it, trying to work on a dissection for you. Till then.